I knew something was off the second she stood up. We were at this low-key place in Ballard, just a few of us. Mia, Derek, her mom Claire, and me. Olivia had said it was just a casual dinner to celebrate the engagement. Nothing fancy, just people. But Olivia was smiling too hard, and she kept looking at the door. When Julian walked in, I felt it before I saw it, that shift in the air. Like someone changed the channel, without touching the remote. He looked exactly like his profile picture's tailored coat. Hair like head just stepped out of a Brooklyn photo shoot. That easy grin that made people lean in without realizing it. Olivia was already on her feet. "Jules," she said, and her voice did that thing soft, warm, the way it used to sound when she first said my name in bed. He hugged her, and it went on longer than it needed to. I cleared my throat, not loud, just enough. Derek raised an eyebrow at me from across the table. I didn't react. Claire practically lit up. "Julian, what a surprise. Couldn't miss this," Julian said, sliding into the empty seat beside Olivia, like it had been saved for him. "Heard my favorite girl got engaged." Olivia laughed, brushing his arm. "Stop." I picked up my drink and drank. Mia tried to keep things moving. "So, how's New York?" "Loud," Julian said, eyes still on Olivia. "Crowded. Not like here. Not like home." Claire sighed like head just recited poetry. "You always were the romantic one." I stayed quiet. Olivia didn't look at me once while she topped off his wine. Somewhere between the second course and dessert, Claire asked it. Of course she did. "So, Julian any special woman waiting for you back east?" Julian smiled, slow and deliberate. He leaned back, swirled his glass, and then said it. "Not really. I always figured the woman I meant to marry is still here." Silence. Not the awkward kind. The kind where everyone knows exactly what was just said, and no one wants to be the first to move. Olivia ducked her head, smiling like she had just been handed a secret gift. "He always says that." I set my fork down. It made a clean, final sound against the plate. "Still who?" I asked. Olivia finally looked at me, like she was surprised I'd spoken. Then she said it, clear as glass. "Julian, my first love, my future husband." I heard my own pulse in my ears. I smiled, not because it was funny, because if I didn't smile, I was going to break something. "And where does that leave me?" Mia jumped in, too fast. "Oh," she didn't mean. "I did." Olivia cut in, her hand settling on Julian's forearm like it belonged there. "It's just different with him. Ethan, different." I nodded once. "Different how?" She waved a hand, like she was explaining something obvious to a child. "We have history. Roots. He's the one I always pictured. You know that. Do I?" I said, "Because you said yes when I asked you to marry me. You wore the ring. You told your mom we were building a life. I love you," she said, like that fixed it. "Do you?" I looked at her, really looked, because if you loved me, those words wouldn't exist in your mouth. Julian chuckled, actually chuckled. "Relax. Mun, it's just a joke." I turned to him. "Is it?" He lifted his hands, still smiling. "We go back. High school, first kiss. All that. You get it." "No," I said quietly. "I don't." Olivia's smile faded. "You're being dramatic and being honest." I said, "Something none of you seem comfortable with tonight." Claire rolled her eyes. "Don't make a scene." "Ethan, too late for that," Derek muttered under his breath. I stood, not abruptly, just done. Olivia reached for me. "Sit down." I looked at her hand, then back at her face. "No." I grabbed my jacket and walked out. No goodbyes. No slamming doors. Just the cold air hitting me the second I hit the sidewalk. I didn't go home. I drove. Ended up at Direct's bar, even though it was technically closed. He opened the door before I knocked. "Rough night?" he said. I didn't answer. Just slid onto a stool and stared at the bottles. He poured me a drink without asking. "You want to talk?" I shook my head. Then, after a long silence, I said it out loud for the first time. She called him her future husband. Derek didn't say anything for a beat. Then, and you? I finished the drink. I guess I'm just a guy who paid for dinner. He poured me another. You gonna fight for her? I thought about it. About Olivia's hand on Julian's arm. About the way she said future husband like. It was the most natural thing in the world. About the fact that she hadn't once looked sorry. No, I said finally. I don't fight for people who already left. My phone buzzed. Olivia, where are you? We need to talk. I stared at the message. Read it 3 times. Then I typed back, slow and careful. There's nothing left to say. I set the phone down and turned it over. Derek watched me. You sure about this? I nodded, but my chest felt hollow, like something had been scooped out and replaced with cold air. I kept hearing her voice. My future husband. Not my past. Not a memory. Future. I finished the second drink and sat there in the dark, listening to the hum of the fridge behind the bar, wondering how long it takes for a word to stop echoing in your head. By the time I left, the sky was starting to lighten. I didn't go back to our apartment. I went to the one place that didn't smell like her, didn't feel like us. I sat on the floor with my back against the wall and closed my eyes. And all I could think was, I spent months planning a life with someone who never planned to stay. That's when I knew this wasn't about a ring, or a dinner, or even Julian. It was about the fact that I'd been building a future for 2, while she'd already filled my spot. And I don't do placeholders. I didn't go home that night. Didn't text her I was safe. Didn't know her that. By morning, my phone was a mess. Missed calls, voicemails, texts piling up like she was trying to rewrite last night in real time. Where are you? Don't do this. Call me. I scrolled past them all and turned the phone off. Derek tossed me a coffee around 9. She's blowing up my phone too. Tell her I'm alive. I said, nothing more. He smirked. Already did. Also told her you're not in the mood to be called her present husband or whatever the hell she's calling you now. I almost laughed. Almost. Around noon, I went back to the apartment. Not because I missed it. Because I needed clothes. My laptop. The basics. And because if I didn't walk through that door, she'd think I was hiding. She was on the couch. Still in last night's clothes. Hair mess. The second I stepped in, she stood up like she'd been waiting for a cue. You're overreacting, she said, walking toward me. Come here. I stepped back. Overreacting? Yes. She snapped. It was a dumb comment. Julian was being Julian. You know how he is. I know how you are. I said, you let it sit there. You owned it. She crossed her arms. Because you were being cold. If you just laughed it off. Laugh it off? I dropped my bag by the door. You told a room full of people your future husband is someone else. A week after we got engaged. And him supposed to laugh? It's just words. Ethan, words matter. I said, quieter now. They show you where people live inside their own heads. And you're living somewhere I'm not invited. She flinched. Good. You always do this, she said, voice shaking. You shut down. You make everything a logic problem. This is about feelings. Feelings? I laughed, dry and sharp. You want to talk about feelings? Try sitting across from the woman you love while she calls another man her future. Tell me how that feels. She looked away. I didn't mean it like that. Then how did you mean it? Silence. I walked past her into the bedroom and started pulling clothes out of the closet. Shirts, jeans, the hoodie she always steals. I moved slow, deliberate. Every item I packed felt like taking back a piece of myself. She followed me in. What are you doing? Packing. I can see that. Why? Because I'm not sleeping next to someone who's already promised herself to someone else. I didn't promise him anything. She shouted. It was a figure of speech. I stopped and looked at her. Was it? Because you didn't correct him. You didn't say. Actually, my future husband is standing right there. You let it hang. You liked it hanging. Tears at her eyes fast. You're really going to throw us away over one sentence? It wasn't one sentence. Liv. I zipped the bag. It was the truth you didn't have the guts to tell me until you thought you were safe. She grabbed my wrist. I love you. You love the version of me that stays. I said, gently pulling free, but am done staying. Don't, she whispered. Please. I didn't answer, just picked up the bag and walked out. 2 days later, I got a text from her. Can we talk? In person. Please. I didn't reply. Another came an hour later. I miss you. The space is stupid. Let's fix it. Space. That's what she had called it when I didn't answer. Let's take some space. Shed told Mia, who then told Derek, who then told me, like space was a mutual decision, and not me walking away. On day 3, she showed up at Derek's bar. I was at a corner table, nursing a beer. Derek gave me a look your funeral and let her in. She slid into the chair across from me without asking. Hair pulled back. No muck-up. Eyes red. She looked tired. Looked real. And for a second, I hated that it still got to me. You're avoiding me, she said. I'm giving you what you asked for. I said, space. I didn't mean it like that. You never do. She leaned forward. I talked to Julian. I didn't react. Cool. I told him it was inappropriate, that he crossed a line. Did he apologize? He said he was just joking. Right. I cut in. The joke. The one you laughed at. She exhaled. Frustrated. Why are you making this so hard? Because it is hard. Live. Or did you think I'd just bounce back? Smile. Nod. And pretend I didn't hear it? I want to fix this, she said, voice breaking. I want us back. Us? I set the beer down. Which us? The one where you're engaged to me, or the one where you're married to him in your head? She blinked fast, tears spilling over. You think I don't love you? I think you love the idea of me. I said, the stability, the future I built for us. But when it comes to the actual future, the one you dream about when no one's listening, I'm not in it. That's not true. She whispered, then prove it. I said, tell me, right now, that if Julian asked you to run away with him today, you'd say no. She opened her mouth, closed it, looked down, and that was the answer. I nodded, stood up, and grabbed my jacket. Ethan, don't. I said, you don't get to call me cold after you showed me exactly where I stand. She followed me outside. Rain starting to mist around us. I'm trying. Can't you see that? I see it. I said, but trying isn't the same as choosing. And you haven't chosen me. Not once. Not really. I'm scared. Okay? She cried. Of losing you. Of losing him. Of picking wrong. Pick. I said, or ill pick for you. I walked away. Didn't look back. That night, she posted a photo on her story. A selfie from high school. Her and Julian. Arms around each other. Both laughing. Caption, some roots don't die. I stared at it for a long time. Then I blocked her. Not because I hated her, but because I finally understood I wasn't fighting for a relationship anymore. I was fighting for scraps of a woman who had already fed her heart to someone else. And I don't do scraps. She showed up unannounced 5 days later. No text. No call, just the sound of the key turning in the lock of the apartment. ID started renting in Queen Anne. ID changed the locks the day before. She shouldn't have had a copy. But she did. Of course she did. I was on the couch. Laptop open. Not working. Just staring at the screen. The door clicked. I didn't look up. Ethan, she said. Voice thin. We need to talk. You lost the right to that key. I said, closing the laptop slowly. And the right to we. She ignored that. Kicking off her shoes like she still lived there. Like nothing had changed. She walked over. Sat on the coffee table. Directly in front of me. Close enough that I could smell her perfume, the one I bought her for her birthday. Cheeky. I blocked him, she said. I leaned back. Who? Julian. On everything. Instagram. WhatsApp. Even my mom's landline. I told her not to give him my number anymore. Cool. I said, glad your mom's involved now. Don't. She whispered. Don't be like that. I'm trying. Trying what? To manage the damage? Or to convince me you didn't mean the one thing you've never taken back? She reached for my hand. I let her touch me, just to see if I'd feel anything. I didn't. Just skin. Just warmth. No pull. I love you, she said. Not him. You. Say it, I said quietly. Say, Julian is not my future husband. She hesitated. Just a breath. But it was there. Ethan, say it. Her eyes filled. It's not that simple. It is. I said, pulling my hand back. It's one sentence. One choice. But you can't say it, because it'd be a lie. I'm scared. She cried, standing up suddenly. Okay, is that what you want to hear? I'm scared that if I say it, it makes everything with you real. Permanent. And if I choose you, and it doesn't work, there it is. I said, standing too. You're not scared of losing me. You're scared of committing to me. Because if you commit, and it fails, it's on you. But if you keep Julian in your back pocket, it's never really your fault, is it? That's not fair, she said, but her voice wavered. Fair? I laughed, short and bitter. You called another man your future husband while wearing my ring. Fair left the building that night. Leave. She started crying in that way she knew got to me before quiet, shoulders shaking, hand over her mouth. But it didn't work anymore. It sounded like performance, like she was reading from a script she thought I'd fall for. Remember when I had the flu last winter? She said suddenly. You slept on the floor next to the bed, so I wouldn't be alone. You held my hair back when I threw up. You didn't complain once. I remember. I said, and our first date you brought me those stupid little eclairs because I mentioned them once. You never forget anything I say. I remember. So, how can you just throw that away? She asked, stepping closer. How can you just erase us? I'm not erasing anything. I said, I'm acknowledging what was never there. You remember the eclairs. Live. But you also remember the way Julian kissed you under bleachers. You remember the way he said your name. And you never forgot either. That's the difference. I loved you in the present. You loved me while looking backward. She sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. I don't want to lose you. Then why do you let him in? Because he's familiar, she sobbed. Because he's safe. Because with him, I know the ending. With yous it's scary. It's real. And I panicked. I crouched down in front of her, not touching, just looking. Panic doesn't make you say, future husband. I said, panic makes you say, I'm scared or don't leave. But you didn't say that. You claimed him. In front of everyone. Including me. She looked up, eyes raw. It'll do anything. Therapy. A break from social media. It'll cut everyone off. Just on go. I studied her face. The tear tracks. The smeared mascara. The desperation. And I realized something that broke the last thin wire holding me together. I didn't want to fix this anymore. Anything? I asked. She nodded frantically. Anything. Then let me go. I said. She froze. You want to do something for me? I continued, voice steady. Let me walk away. Let me be the one thing you don't fight for. Just so I can finally stop fighting for you. No, she whispered. Please. It'll change. I swear. You won't. I said, standing, because you don't want to change. You want me to stay small enough to fit into the space you left for him. And am done being small. I walked to the desk, pulled open the drawer, and took out the envelope I'd prepared weeks ago before the dinner, before the comment, before I knew I'd need it. Inside wasn't just a breakup note. It was a list. The patents, the agreements, the things I'd built quietly, without her ever asking what they were. She had assumed they were just side projects. She had never known they were mine to give or take back. I set the envelope on the table. What's that? She asked, voice hollow. My exit. I said, everything that ties me to a future am no longer part of. She didn't open it, didn't ask questions. Maybe she already knew. Maybe she had always known. I grabbed my keys. Ethan, she reached for me again. Don't. I said, don't call me. Don't text. Don't show up. If you mean anything you've said tonight, you'll let me go. I walked to the door. It'll wait for you, she said, barely audible. Forever if I have to. I paused, hand on the knob. Don't. I said, wait for the man you actually chose. I stepped out and closed the door behind me. No slam, just a soft click that sounded louder than any scream. In the car, I sat for a long time. My hands weren't shaking. My chest didn't hurt. I just felt quiet, like a library after hours, like a house with no furniture. I thought about the first time she said she loved me, how ID replayed it for months, how ID built entire rooms in my head around that sentence. Now I knew better. Love isn't what you say when it's easy. It's what you don't say when it's hard. And Shed said everything except the one thing that mattered. I started the engine and drove. Not home, not to directs, just away. Behind me, the apartment stayed dark. And for the first time since I met her, I didn't look in the rearview mirror. She didn't wait 24 hours. My phone lit up at 6:03 a.m. I can't breathe. Please answer. I turned the phone face down and made coffee. By the time it finished brewing, 3 more came in. I'm serious. Ethan, I'm at the ER. They said it's anxiety. Because of us. Just tell me you're okay so I can leave. I didn't reply. If she was at the ER, she wasn't alone. Claire would be there. Or Mia, someone to hold her hand while she performed. At 9:17, Derek texted, "She's at the bar. Again, crying to a gin and tonic. You want me to bounce her?" I stared at the message. Part of me wanted to say yes. Most of me didn't care enough to decide. Your call. I typed back. An hour later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't pick up. Almost. "Ethan," she said, voice raw, like she'd been screaming into a pillow. "It's me." "I know. Why won't you talk to me?" "Because we already had the conversation." I said, "You just didn't like the ending. I'm falling apart." She whispered, "I haven't eaten. I haven't slept. Mia says I look like a ghost." "Good." I said, "Now you know what it felt like to sit across from you that night." Silence, then a shaky breath. "That's cruel." "No," I said. "Cruel was letting me plan a wedding while you save your future for someone else. This is just consequence." She started crying in that way where she tries to talk through it, words breaking apart. I went by the apartment. "Your stuff is gone. Even the stupid mug. I gave you the one with the chip on the handle. It's gone." "Did you throw it away?" "No." I said, "I left it. Figured you could use it when Julian visits." "Stop." She choked out. "Please stop. I'm trying to show you I'm sorry." "You're not sorry you said it." I said, "You're sorry I left. There's a difference." Another silence. Longer this time. Then I saw him. I didn't react. "Julian?" "Last night, at the gallery. He came by to see the new exhibit. We talked." "Of course you did. He asked if you were treating me right," she said, voice gaining a strange edge. "He said he'd take me to New York if I wanted. Start over." And I kept my tone flat. "And I told him no." She snapped. "Okay." I told him I loved you, that I made a mistake, that I want to fix this. "Is that what you want to hear?" "No." I said, "Because you told him no out of fear, not choice. And because you're telling me this hoping he'll feel something. Jealousy, relief, something. But I don't." "Liar." She whispered. "Maybe." I said, "But I'm a liar who's finally honest about how little I matter to you." She made a sound half sob, half growl. "You matter. You matter so much it hurts." "Why can't you believe that?" "Because belief needs evidence." I said, "And every piece of evidence you've given me points somewhere else." She hung up. 10 minutes later, Mia called. "You're being an asshole." Mia said, without preamble, "Morning to you too." "She's wrecked. Ethan, like, actually wrecked. She keeps saying you took everything from her." "I took nothing." I said, "She gave it away. You could have fought for her." Mia said, "You could have stayed and worked out like a normal couple." "There's no working out a man who lives rent-free in your girlfriend's head." I said, "Especially when she pays his rent." Mia sighed. "She's talking about moving back in with her mom." "Good." I said, "Claire will love having her back. They can bond over how much better Julian is than me." "God, you're cold." "No." I said, "I'm done being warm for people who leave the window open." I ended the call and sat in quiet. My chest felt Still, not numb, just still, like the eye of a storm. 2 days later, I ran into Claire at the grocery store. Of all places, I turned down the pasta aisle, and there she was, inspecting marinara, like it personally offended her. She looked up, saw me, and her face tightened. Ethan, Claire, Olivia tells me you've moved out, she said, tone clipped, and that you're being difficult. Difficult how? Refusing to communicate, returning her things, cutting her off. She set the jar down. She's fragile right now. She's not fragile. I said, she's accountable. And she doesn't like it. Claire stepped closer, lowering her voice. You think you're so righteous, don't you? But you're just a boy playing at being a man. Julian has ambition, vision. He knows who he is. And Olivia knows who she is too. I said, she proved that. Loudly. She made a mistake. Claire hissed. One comment. And you're throwing away years over it? It wasn't a mistake. I said, it was a confession. And I believed her. Claire opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, she had nothing. I nodded once and walked away. That night, Olivia showed up at my new place. No key this time, just knocking. Soft at first, then harder. I didn't answer. Ethan, she called through the door. Please, just let me in. 5 minutes. I stayed on the couch, staring at the ceiling. I brought your hoodie, she said. The gray one. It still smells like you. I sleep in it. Still, I didn't move. I'm sorry, she whispered, for not choosing you out loud, for making you feel small, for loving you like it was a backup plan. My throat tightened, but I stayed silent. I keep thinking about the night we got engaged. She went on. You were shaking when you asked. I thought it was nerves, but now I think maybe you already knew. Maybe you saw it before I did. I closed my eyes. I don't want Julian, she said. I haven't wanted him in years, but he's safe. And you make me want things I'm terrified he'll ruin. A house, kids, growing old next to someone who actually stays. And I panicked. I reached for the past because the future with you felt too big to hold. She paused, waited. When I didn't answer, her voice broke completely. Say something, anything. Yell at me. Tell me I'm pathetic. Tell me to go to hell. Just don't be quiet. I stood up, walked to the door, pressed my palm against it, feeling the thin wood between us. I'm not quiet because I don't care, I said, loud enough for her to hear through the door. I'm quiet because I finally do. Silence on the other side. Goodbye. Live, I said. I heard her slide down to floor. Heard her cry real this time. Not performative. Heard her whisper. I'm sorry over and over until her voice gave out. I didn't open the door. Instead, I walked back to the couch, picked up the envelope from the drawer, and placed it on the kitchen counter. Ready? Final. Mine to give or take back. Outside, her car started, drove away, and inside, I sat in the quiet aftermath, realizing that the hardest part wasn't leaving her. It was realizing I'd already left long before she did. She found out on a Tuesday. I got the first text at 10:14 a.m. What the hell is this? I didn't answer. At 10:17. Another. Ethan, answer me. Why did I get an email from Legal IP Group? At 10:21. A call. Then another. Then voicemail after voicemail piling up. Her voice climbing from confused to frantic to furious. I listened to one while I made coffee. You don't get to Ethan. Call me back. Right now. Do you hear me? Right now. I deleted it. By noon, Derek texted. She's here. At the bar. Screaming at me about patents and 12 things. You want me to handle it or what? I typed back slowly. Tell her the truth. I took them back. An hour later, she showed up at my door. This time, she didn't knock. She pounded. Open the door. Open it. Ethan. I set my coffee down and walked over. Didn't open it yet. Just stood there, hand on the knob. I got the notices, she said, voice cracking. All 12. They're yours again. How and would you do that? I opened the door. She looked wrecked. No muck-up. hair thrown up in a messy knot, eyes swollen from crying. She had the printed email in her hand, crumpled at the edges like she had been clutching it for hours. Why? She asked again, stepping forward. I didn't move, because they were never ours. They were mine. And I don't build futures for people who already have one plan with someone else. This is about Julian? She screamed. Are you serious? After everything, after I cut him off, after I begged you to come back here, doing this over a comment he made? It's not about the comment, I said quietly. It's about the fact that you let it stand, that you still haven't said the words, that even now, standing here, you're fighting me about the patents instead of telling me I'm the only future you want. I don't need to say it. She shouted. It should be obvious. I'm here, aren't I? I'm not with him. I'm choosing you. Choosing me? I stepped aside, gesturing into the apartment. Then prove it. Walk away. Don't call. Don't text. Don't show up. Give me 6 months of silence. If I'm really the one you choose, you'll respect that. She stared at me like ID slapped her. You want me to disappear? I want you to stop performing. I said, stop trying to win me back. Stop using Julian as a measuring stick. Just be quiet. And if, after 6 months, you still feel the same man, you can say the words without flinching, then maybe we talk. That's insane. She whispered. You're asking me to erase myself. No, I said, I'm asking you to finally show up as yourself. Not the girl who clings to her first love. Not the woman who uses panic as a compass. Just you, the one who either wants me or doesn't. She started crying harder, the kind that shakes your whole body. I can't just vanish. What if you move on? What if you meet someone else? Then I wasn't yours to begin with, I said, and you already knew that. She reached for me, grabbing my shirt. Don't do this. Don't take the patents. Don't take yourself. Please. It'll change. It'll go to therapy. It'll block everyone. It'll marry you tomorrow. Elopement. Vegas. Whatever you want. I peeled her fingers off, one by one, gently, like unwrapping something fragile I no longer wanted to hold. You're offering me a wedding, I said, but you still haven't offered me a future. I don't understand what you want from me. She screamed. I want you to mean it. I said, I want you to look at me and say, Julian is not my future husband, and believe it. And until you can do that, everything else is noise. She sank to the floor, forehead against the doorframe. I can't say it, because part of me still wonders about him, about what if, and I hate that part of me. Ethan, I hate it, but it's there. I crouch down. I level with her. Then there's nothing left to say. Don't, she whispered. Don't walk away. Not like this. Like what? I asked. Like a man who finally believes a woman when she tells him where his heart ranks? I stood up. Ethan, I'm not yours. I said, not your safety net, not your backup plan, not your future husband. I'm just a guy who loved you enough to leave when you couldn't choose. I stepped back inside. Wait, she choked out. The patents, what you can do with them? I looked at her one last time. Does it matter? They were never about the money. They were about what I was willing to give you. And now I'm taking it back. Her face crumpled. I love you. I know, I said, but love isn't enough when it comes with conditions. I closed the door. She didn't pound this time, just sat there, crying softly on the other side. I heard her whisper, I'm sorry, over and over until her voice gave out. I didn't open it. Instead, I walked to the kitchen counter, picked up the envelope, and slid it into my bag. Final. Done. Mine. My phone buzzed. Mia, she's at my place. Hysterical. Says you took everything. What the hell did you do? I replied once. I took back what was never hers to claim. Then I turned the phone off. For the first time in months, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt clean. I thought about the night I proposed. How she had said yes with tears in her eyes. How ID believed her. How ID spent months building a life around that yes. Only to realize it was conditional, subject to a past she never buried. I thought about Julian, not with anger anymore, just distance. He wasn't the villain. He was the mirror. He showed me exactly where I stood. And I thought about Olivia, not the woman ID loved, but the woman she had shown me she really was someone who loved the idea of being chosen more than the act of choosing. I didn't hate her. I didn't miss her. I just released her. That night, I went for a drive. Ended up at the waterfront. Windows down. Cold air biting at my skin. I stayed there until the stars came out. Thinking about nothing. Feeling nothing. Which, for the first time, felt like peace. Somewhere across town, I knew she was still awake. Still crying. Still wondering why I didn't fight harder. But ID fought. ID fought for months. For years. For a version of her that didn't exist outside my own hope. Now, I was done fighting, done waiting, done being the man who stayed while she looked elsewhere. I started the car and drove home, not to an apartment filled with her things, not to a bed ID shared with ghosts, just home, to a quiet room, a clean slate, a future that finally belonged only to me. And as I walked through the door, I realized something. Taking back the patents wasn't about ownership. It was about reclaiming the parts of myself ID given away to someone who never fully showed up to receive them. I was whole before her, and I was whole after. Maybe, for the first time, I was whole because of me. I set the envelope on the table, unopened. Then I turned off the light and slept